What's going on, boys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing very well. I myself am doing absolutely fantastic. It is currently Sunday morning. I've got my coffee here. It's a long weekend here in Germany, and yeah, I'm just in a good mood today, you know? I don't know, but I thought I'd start this day off with just rambling about War Thunder, because what better way is there to start off a day than to just ramble on about this game? I mean, but yeah, I'm gonna give my 2 cents on the whole like economy controversy thing that's going on. I'm not gonna dedicate an entire video to it. I just don't think I have that much to add that other people haven't already said. But I'm also gonna just talk about the Mirage 2000 with some lovely gameplay in the background before this thing becomes utterly obsolete when the next update comes out. So yeah, thank you. Oh, by the way, thank you very much on the response for the last video. I put a little bit more like sort of effort into it, and it's just nice to sort of see people, I guess just appreciate that. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. So in regards to this whole like economy thing, the whole debacle that's been going on recently, first of all, I want to say I'm happy something's finally happening. I'm happy people are actually sort of saying something, and Gaijin are even acknowledging it. However, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's necessarily going to change much. I hope I'm wrong on this, but with my experience with this company, I've been playing War Thunder but I've been playing War Thunder properly for probably about the last 3 years, so nowhere near as long as probably most people that are watching this video. But I'm just kind of worried that Gaijin are going to completely miss the point of what the community is actually on about. And what I mean by that is they try to implement a change in the way the economy works, right? So they wanted to implement a change in how repair costs are calculated for different vehicles, how rewards are accrued through the battle and stuff like that. And when they implemented this change, all of a sudden the players revolted, right? So I think in their eyes, they might honestly just interpret that as, well, players don't like the way the system works. That might be true if you ask individual players, and multiple systems. You can go on about how stupid the repair cost system is and how it's calculated and stuff like that. But the main issue that we have as players with this game is that we cannot progress through this game at a decent rate. It doesn't matter how the repair costs are calculated. It doesn't matter how we accrue SL and RP in the game. We're just advocating for an increase in rewards just across the board. There doesn't need to be a single change in the way the system works as far as keeping the community happy is going to go. Now, I'm sure if they came up with a system that, would improve the way repair costs are calculated and stuff like that, yeah, I'd be all for that, right? But that's not the main issue that players are on about. The main issue is just, we can't earn any SL, we can't earn any RP, we cannot progress through the game at a decent rate, and it takes months to get through an entire tech tree. And that's if you're skillful. If you're a noob, if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to take substantially longer than that. Couple that with the tone deaf response that they gave, which just completely missed the point, I feel like. And this is kind of what makes me think that Gaijin really don't know what we're on about. Or at least they're pretending not to know what we're on about. I should probably phrase it like that. So I'm kind of worried that when is it, June 14th, when they come up with this roadmap or whatever, like their proposed changes, they're just gonna sort of they're just gonna propose a new system on how these things are going to be accrued without any actual benefit to, progressing through the game, if that makes sense. We're not going to progress through the game any quicker, is what I'm trying to say. Now, I know technically, if you look at European Canadian made a video on this, with the last changes that they proposed, it would take like a little bit less RP to get through the entire tech tree. If you look on paper, it was technically a positive change for players, but I don't know. I don't look at like the statistics on this stuff, but I just, the YouTube videos and stuff, if you played RB afterwards, people were earning substantially less SL. I'm not sure about RP, but SL people were earning substantially less, and that's obviously going to slow the grind. So that's the main problem people are on about. I think Gaijin are just going to completely miss the point when it comes to the 14th. They're going to propose some new bullshit system that's going to look really good on paper, but in reality it's just going to be the same thing, maybe even worse. Who knows? I doubt they make it too much worse. I don't think they're going to risk it that much, but over time it's going to be the same thing. And as always, if you're a sim player, I wouldn't hold my breath, really. I don't think we're going to see these changes anyway. I mean, sim has a completely different economy system to RB anyway. The way we we accrue SL on RP is completely different to RB. So I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think all of this is gonna affect this game mode at all anyway. And because not enough people play it, and the reason people don't play it is because you don't earn any money in this game mode. Yeah, I'm sure I don't need to keep going on about it. I'm sure you guys all know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's just kind of like my thoughts on it, and yeah, I don't know. I'm not very hopeful, but you know, I guess let's just wait and see. We have to keep being positive and whatever. So yeah. So the Mirage 2000C S5. What can I say about this jet? Well, it's the first plane that I ever made a video on. This is back when I used to put big red arrows in my thumbnails, thinking it would sort of you know, make people click on the video or whatever. I don't know. Honestly, it started off as like a bit of a joke, but then I just figured out like, hey, no, it actually does make the thumbnail stand out a little bit more. But then I just thought, okay, nah, this is just gonna, like, in the long term, this is just gonna piss people off. So yeah, what can I say about this plane specifically that I didn't mention in that video? Well, one thing is that back when I made the video was, I think, about October or something like that. So we obviously didn't have the F-16. The most dangerous thing this thing would go up against was something like an MLD probably, or an F-14. But now we have F-16s and MiG-29s in the game, you know. The F-14 is also a lot more dangerous now in terms of like the Phoenix missiles and whatever. They never used to really work back then. But now they do. They can be quite dangerous if you're not paying attention. The Mirage 2000 also got a couple of engine upgrades. This thing actually performs a lot better now than it did back then. In a straight line, when it comes to like thrust to weight ratios, it actually kind of rivals that of the F-16. I shouldn't say thrust to weight ratio, I have no idea, because someone's gonna like get mad in the comments. It can hang in there with the other two 4th gens, right? In terms of acceleration and stuff like that, that's what I mean. In a dogfight, however, this is the interesting thing. This is what makes Delta Wings, in my opinion, so much fun to fly in War Thunder. I'm just gonna come out and say it. The main reason Delta Wings perform so well in War Thunder is because most people don't know how to deal with them. So what I mean by this is the characteristics of a Delta Wing are that they can turn very sharply, but they bleed a lot of speed doing it, right? So they have incredibly good low speed maneuverability. So if you are fighting a Delta Wing in something like a Phantom, an F-16, whatever you may be flying, if you get slow next to a Delta Wing, you're probably going to lose. You're in a very, very bad spot. You're not left with a lot of options, right? So the trick is to just not get slow. And then the first thing you sort of learn is, well, you know, when you're new to the game, or you sort of get into dogfighting, or you get into jets or whatever, is that Delta Wings cannot maintain turns for very long. Well, you'll hear that and be like, okay, so all I have to do is rate fight them, right? It's going to like one continuous turn. And then surely he won't be able to keep up. And then you try that, and you do like 2 turns, and you realize, you look back, and the guy is still right in between your butt cheeks, right? Now, most of the time, the reason for this is because they're actually inside your turn circle. And I'm going to try and sort of avoid the yeah, a bunch of the philosophy that goes into dogfighting and stuff, because I don't have that much time. But basically, it means they're inside your turn circle, and what Delta Wings are really good at doing is they're really good at getting inside your turn circle. What it basically means is that they need to turn less in order to stay behind you, right? So they can be at a slower speed. It's like cutting a corner, essentially, right? Like kind of like that. So they have to cover, if they're inside your turn circle, they have to cover less distance in order to sort of keep you in front of them, if that makes sense. And you can do that at a much lower speed, obviously, right? I feel like it's a really tricky thing to deal with if you're a new player, and it's a really tricky thing to even identify if you're a new player, because you don't know anything. So where I find most of my success in this plane is against people that aren't really aware of these sort of facts or these traits. So you'll be fighting, I don't know, against an F-16 or something like that. Or, you know, for instance, I'll merge with an F-16. I'm just gonna pull into him as hard as I can. I'm gonna get my nose onto him, and then he's gonna think, oh crap, he's already got his nose on me, and then he's gonna probably start to panic, and you know, I might start shooting at him a little bit with the tracers, and then he's gonna, you know, less experienced players are gonna start panicking in situations like that, thinking that they've already lost the fight, when in reality, all they have to do is just keep on turning in the trajectory that they're already turning in. Maybe a couple of jinks every now and then. And eventually, I'm not going to be able to keep up with that turn, right? But you sort of need to predict what's going to happen in the fight. And in order to be able to do that, you need experience. and that's what a lot of people don't have, especially the, you know, Sim is a game mode that has a lot of new players coming into it. They play it for a week and then they just leave again because they don't make any money, but you know. So I find if the more aggressive you are, generally the better success you're going to have. Alright, so the question is then, how do you deal with people that somewhat know what they're doing when they're fighting you? Well, the way you want to fight in a Mirage is you want to drag your opponent into the slow speed regime, right? Because that's where you have the advantage. So if you're fighting an F16, a MiG-29, or even an F14 or whatever, you want to get them slow because all of them can outrate you. However, if you get them slow, you have much superior maneuverability, you have better nose authority, you can basically point your nose wherever you want in the slow speed regime where they can't, right? That's the main difference between Delta Wings and, you know, conventional winged aircraft. So the way you do this is where, you know, a more experienced player isn't going to fall for this, but most people that play Sim don't really know what they're doing. So what you do when you merge with an F16, or what I do when I merge with an F16 or a MiG-29 or an F14 or whatever, is say you merge at about 600 knots on deck. I'll do a split S upwards. He'll probably follow me, and then I'll do another split S in the vertical, forming a full S. Thinking about it now. And then we'll probably, at the top of the second split S, will probably be at about 300 knots, I'd say, something like that. Now, I'm going to try and force another vertical at that point, do another split S over the top. Now, if that F16 or MiG-29 follows me into that vertical, he's dead. That's the simple fact of it. Because we're both going to be in an incredibly low energy state at that point. We're going to be sub 300 knots, where the Mirage has the superior maneuverability. And I'm basically just going to be able to slot in behind him, and it doesn't matter how powerful his engine is or whatever. I'm just going to sit inside his turn circle when there's not going to be much he can do. That's what happens with inexperienced players. If you fight someone who's experienced and they know what they're doing, they might follow you up into that second vertical, but when it comes to that third vertical, they're going to realize, okay, he's trying to force another one. If I follow him up there, I'm going to have no speed and I'm going to lose. So they're not going to follow you up there. You're going to do the vertical, and they're probably going to dive a little bit or something like that at that point. And then, you know, it kind of, you have to figure out how you're going to go on with that. But that's the difference between fighting experienced players and non-experienced players. And when you're in a Mirage, you have to identify who you're fighting. Because I'm going to let you know a little bit of a secret. The Mirage isn't actually that amazing at dogfighting. It's just amazing at pulling sharp turns. You get whenever I fly my F16 and I merge with a Mirage, they don't stand a chance. And it's not because I'm some amazing player or whatever. It's just because I know not to get slow around them. I'll spiral climb. I'll do vertical loops without, you know, I'll try and maintain speed in a vertical loop, which the F16 does phenomenally well. So does the MiG-29. And I'll get them slow way before I've lost my energy. So I'm going to essentially keep my energy advantage. And if you're in a Mirage and you're fighting one of these 4th gen jets and they keep their energy, eventually you're going to get slow, and there's not going to be much you can do about that. They're going to dance around on top of you in the vertical, in spiral climbs, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it. This is why it's very important to identify what kind of match you're in, what kind of serve you're in. Now, you can take as many high aspect shots as you want in these situations. It doesn't matter, but high aspect shots are very high risk as well. They can bleed your energy pretty quickly, and they're not very reliable. They require a bit of luck. I mean, technically it's just skill, but you know, if the guy jinx or whatever, you're not really going to hit them. So like I said, you have to identify what kind of serve you're in, what kind of match you're in, what are the enemy players like. And if you're fighting a team full of noobs, yeah, be aggressive, dogfight them. You're probably going to win. Eventually they're going to lose their speed and you're going to get slow next to them, and you're going to have the upper hand. However, if you realize, okay, this is quite a sweaty server, the people on the enemy team are experienced, they know how to fight the Mirage, I would actually say try to avoid dogfights. One of the reasons being, in general, doesn't matter what plane you're fighting, dogfights leave you incredibly vulnerable to third parties. And the other reason being, for the reasons that I just mentioned, you can get energy trapped incredibly easily. So generally how I fly the Mirage when I know that the enemy team knows how to fight Mirages, is you just have to ambush them. This works really well on maps with a lot of terrain, so like Vietnam. This works really well on Vietnam's a fantastic map for this. Afghanistan, Denmark, not so much. Denmark has zero terrain. Same with Sinai. Same with stuff like Tunisia. All of these like flat maps, you want to stay away from in the Mirage. You can definitely, you know, fight them, but you can definitely fly on them. It's not like, yeah, it's an instant death sentence. But if the going gets sweaty, you're going to get into trouble. The map isn't going to leave you a lot of options. You have to, you're an ambush fighter. You have to use the terrain. You have to sneak around. And if there's no terrain to sneak around, people are just going to see you on radar. And once you're found, it's hard to sneak. So also, if you have a bunch of terrains like mountains and stuff like that, you can, you know, if you realize you're being locked from like, I don't know, 20 miles in front of you or whatever, you can fly low, you can duck behind a little hill, a little mountain, and then go into the ACM mode, pop over the top of the hill, lock the guy up at like 5 miles or whatever like that, whatever range he's at, and just fire an R530 at him. They generally don't expect it. You generally get the lock-in a lot quicker than they do because they don't expect you to pop. They don't know exactly when you're going to pop up over the mountain. Obviously, you do. Most of them don't really change their, you know, they just fly straight towards the mountain. They're not gonna, you know, turn cold or anything like that. So this is a very effective way to sort of, to sort of play it. You know, if you do find yourself in a merge, you can always, you know, just give it, you can always give it a go. Worst thing that's gonna happen is you're just gonna lose the 25,000, whatever it costs to spawn this thing. So if you don't have that amount of money, then maybe you should think about, you know, what kind of lobbies you join. But at the end of the day, man, even if you're having a bad game in this thing, the Mirage 2000 is such a beauty to fly. I would say in terms of every jet in this game, when it comes to the pure flight model, the Mirage 2000 has the nicest one out of all of them. It gives you all of the maneuverability you could ever ask for, plus none of the wobbliness at low speed. You know, kind of like the F-16, the MiG-29 gets really wobbly, especially the German one. The Mirage Freeze, for instance, are really bad with this. The J-35, even the Vegan to an extent. The Mirage 2000 has none of that. It's an incredibly stable plane, but it gives you incredible maneuverability, and it's such a joy to fly. The roll rate is on point. It stiffens up a little bit around the transonic region, but you know, it's no big deal. It doesn't compress anywhere near as much as the F-16 does. I mean, I know the F-16 doesn't compress, but you know what I mean. It has better high-speed maneuverability than the F-14. It's just an amazing airframe. If you don't have this plane and you're thinking about grinding it out, yes, it's not necessarily the meta. It only gets 4 missiles, which are also kind of unreliable. But the fun you have flying this plane makes the grind so worth it. So if you're thinking about it, I would highly recommend just giving this thing a go. Even the new one when it comes out in probably, I don't know, I would say probably Wednesday. It's when they release the update, Wednesday or Thursday. It's usually when they do it. I'm recording this on a Sunday, so... But definitely give it a go. It's a very rewarding plane to fly. Whenever you get a kill, you genuinely feel like you've actually beaten the other person, and it wasn't just handed to you, you know, because you fired an AIM-9L from 3 miles away. You actually have to get in close. You have to get in you have to get in the thick of it. You have to think about what you're doing. It's a challenge. If you make a stupid mistake, you are going to get punished for it. It's a fantastic plane to fly. And I highly recommend, like I said, if you fly, you know, if you've grinded for America, you have the F-16, you've flown the MiG-29 or whatever, and you're just looking for something different, this is a great place to go. I will say the one downside that really holds this plane back, and it's not the radar not being able to track in rear aspect or anything like that, it's the weapons that it gets. The cannons are alright, but you only get 2 Magic 2s and 2 R530Ds, right? They're not bad missiles, but I would describe them as very unreliable. The Matra R530s they're kind of slow, or at least they seem pretty slow. They're definitely not faster than a Sparrow, I would say. They take a bit to get going. The range isn't that great on them either, if I'm being honest. But, you know, they can pull 30G, so if you fire them within like 8 miles or something like that, they'll definitely reach your target, so... they're quite hard to avoid as well, just through maneuvering. However, because of the slow speed, it does leave the target generally with enough time to dive to the deck and, you know, use the whole ground interference thing with the radar. So that's one thing. Also, the Magic 2s, I don't know what it is with them, man. They're just weird. You can't use them at too close range, but they're also very limited in range as well. So you kind of have to be in that like sweet spot. They do turn 35Gs and they're all aspect and stuff like that, but they're just... I don't know, I don't particularly like these missiles, so I would sort of say that is one of the downsides of this plane. And of course, the missile count is you only get 4 of them. Now, if you know how the economy works in Sim, and you know the 15-minute timers and stuff like that, that's not technically, that's not really a downside in terms of maximizing your profit and stuff like that. But you know, sometimes you get into sweaty matches and you just need to be able to fire off missiles without calculating every single missile shot perfectly to make sure that it does hit its target. Sometimes you just need to suppress your enemy a little bit, you know, you need to hold a certain position, you need to hold a cap point or something, you just need to be able to just launch missiles, and the American planes are very good at doing this. Same with the Russian planes actually, but the French planes generally don't really have the missile capacity to sort of do that, so you're sort of left in this kind of sidelines role. You know, you sometimes when you fly the F-16 or something, it feels like you can take on the entire enemy team by yourself, you know, but in the Mirage you can't really do that. But that's also part of the fun of the plane, is being that underdog and having to use your wit to sort of survive and and sort of get, you know, complete your mission objective or whatever, if you will. But anyway, that's all the footage I have. I'm actually recording this voiceover before I've even recorded the footage for this video, so I have no idea what's happening on screen. But, you know, I'm sure I got a bunch of kills, and I'm also sure I didn't get paid anywhere near enough of what I actually should be getting paid for this, so yeah. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. You know, drink a bunch of water and don't be a dickhead. Anyway, cheers.